House Speaker Mike has no Johnson just got some dire news about his job, and both he and Donald Trump should be very afraid. Once again, we expect Speaker Tiny Johnson is hiding in a closet somewhere. We're guessing. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. And I've been getting messages about the blue monstrosity behind me. No, I can't tell you what's in there just yet. It's a holiday surprise I hope to announce in the next few days. So, to stay up to date on the news and our big announcement here at Occupy Democrats, subscribe to our channel right now. With that out of the way, on to our story. House Speaker Mike Has No Johnson has had a rough month. Following the debacle of the government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history, he chalked up a major loss when a discharge petition overrided his authority and authorized release of the Epstein files, something Johnson had fought and a major reason for the government shutdown in the first place. This week saw Johnson take up a new defense spending authorization bill. Here's how that went down yesterday.
The House of Representatives has overwhelmingly approved a sweeping $900 billion defense policy bill, setting the nation's defense priorities for the next year. It's a big to-do list item for the end of the calendar, so the House has done that. Now heads to the Senate, where it's also expected to pass and will then be signed by President Trump. The bill codifies much of the president's agenda, including authorizing the use of active duty troops along the southern border and eliminating diversity initiatives in the military. It also includes a pay raise for service members. But tucked inside the legislation are a few provisions at odds with the president's priorities. The bill seeks to limit U.S. troops from withdrawing from Europe and will likely send new military aid to Ukraine. It also requires the Defense Department to provide Congress with the full, unedited footage of the boat strikes in the Caribbean and Pacific, withholding a quarter of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's travel budget if the Pentagon fails to comply.
Oh, the plot thickens, so stick around. Normally, passing defense authorization bills isn't actually that hard, and Johnson managed to get this one across the finish line. However, though it might look like a big win for Tiny Johnson, a closer examination of the details tells a very different story. Prior to the passage of the bill, a number of high-profile Republicans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, had opposed its passage. Ultimately, enough of them flipped to allow for it to pass, but there's a big catch. Check this out. Axios now reports the great lengths Johnson had to go to get enough votes for the bill to pass. In order to do so, he had to make specific guarantees to specific members of Congress. That included Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who demanded the government stop sending NGO funds to the Taliban, something Johnson had to extract from Secretary of State Marco Rubio as a promise. He also promised to include a ban on central bank digital currency in an upcoming vote. But Luna, among others, have vowed to sink any future bill, along with Johnson's speakership, should he renege on his word. So, in other words, Johnson, like Kevin McCarthy and John Boehner before him, and don't tell me that his name is pronounced Boehner. I'm queer, I know a boner when I see one. In other words, Johnson can't control his caucus, possibly because it's populated by loons from gerrymandered districts. And if that's not an ominous enough sign for Mike Has No Johnson, this breaking news will be. Check this out. Earlier today, Vox ran an interview with Leanne Caldwell, chief Washington correspondent for Puck News. In it, she revealed that Mike Johnson's speakership will almost certainly end in the coming year, and there's little he can do to save it. For one thing, Micro Johnson is not at all well-liked by his own caucus. See also the Epstein files debacle. For another, Donald Trump is deeply unpopular and is weighing down Republicans in a major way. Caldwell points to the Tennessee special election last week, where a Republican barely eked out a win in a deep red district. But there's a bigger problem. At the time of this report, 23 Republicans have announced they plan to retire and not seek re-election. Caldwell, however, reveals that she knows of a full 20 more who plan to retire, who have not yet announced. That's a staggering number, especially given Republicans' single-digit hold on the House. Oh, and it gets even worse. Caldwell's observation doesn't factor in the reality that when an incumbent retires, even in a safe district, there's always a chance for the opposition party to make inroads, especially if a primary results in an extreme lunatic on the ticket. And that doesn't also factor in the gerrymandering mess that has seen Texas pick up a few new Republican districts and other states like California creating new Democratic districts to counteract that, with other states set to follow suit as well. In other words, There is an impending disaster for House Republicans here, since their gerrymandering is wildly unpopular, and voters see it as the craven power grab it is. Democrats look to pick up dozens of new seats, thus reversing control of Congress and putting Mike Tiny Johnson out of a job. On the upside, he still has time to audition for the role of Tiny Tim in a forthcoming production of A Christmas Carol this season, though someone should tell him that they don't mean that kind of tiny. This is Occupy Democrats.